Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and do some more turkey patterning, and today we've got a really interesting combination of shell, choke, and shotgun to try out. Some of it is a little bit old school, some of it is a very new, modern, high performance shell, so who knows, putting the two of them together should give us something pretty interesting, that's for sure. But as for the shell we've got today, I brought out some more of the Kinetic Gunwerks turkey loads. These ones are their 12 gauge, 3-inch, 2-ounce payload of TSS 9-shot, moving about 1200 feet per second. We've tried these a good number of times now in a bunch of different gauges, and they are some really nice performing shells, especially these 12 gauge ones. But several of you guys have wanted to see them through today's setup, and I've got a rather interesting choke to run them through as well. But as for that setup, I brought out the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag. It has a 28-inch barrel on it, but as for that new choke, I picked up one of these, an old school Hi-Viz Shooting Systems LongSpur turkey choke. And yes, this is the same Hi-Viz that makes the fiber optic sights and stuff like that now. I don't believe they make any more turkey chokes, and if I had to guess based on kind of the packaging and the one forum that even mentioned these chokes at all, this is probably from the mid 2000s era, anywhere from, I don't know, 05 to 2010 maybe, give or take. Definitely a very interesting choke design. It's a 705 constriction, which definitely isn't overly tight. The 835s are overboard, so this is the equivalent of having an extra full choke. Now, I haven't seen very much at all on these chokes, but I can tell you the machine work on it is very nice. It fits beautifully. Maybe the best choke I've ever screwed into that Mossberg. So I've got some high hopes for it, and we'll see what it can do with these kinetic shells. But as for today's test, everything is the same as usual. The turkey target's at 40 yards, and I've got the chrono so we can get our velocity. So let's get you guys a view of that target and see how these kinetic shells not only perform through the overboard 835, but also through this kind of a little bit old school Hi-Viz LongSpur 705. It's a little more open constriction, but I got a feeling this combo is going to do pretty well. So let's take our shot and see what we get. Alright, so that shell gave us 1187 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1200, so we were just a little bit under that, but still, that is still well within the realm of reason and perfectly fine for a velocity. But how did they do down there at 40? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, well, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and I would say that is pretty devastating, to say the least. We absolutely have a dead bird there all day long. That is a ton of pellets on that turkey target, and the birchwood casey didn't even really flake off all the way either, so there are some pellets in there that you really can't even see. So yeah, he is absolutely covered in shot, no doubt about it, and that is a pretty nice looking pattern overall there. Looking at the entire pattern overall as a whole, we have a very nice, very even spread throughout the core. It's got a lot of pellets throughout there, no major voids or anything like that. If we move in and look closer, we might have one little void right at the tip of that bird's beak there, but that is nothing significant at all. We might have favored maybe 1 inch over to the left, but clearly would not have made one bit of a difference here at all. And we really don't have a ton that's outside of that turkey paper either. Not really a whole lot as far as flyers go. We might have a couple up there at the top right corner, but around the edges we get a little bit of leeway to work with, but it's not completely scattered all over the place either. Maybe another flyer or two over there off the left, but that is a pretty condensed pattern right there on that turkey target. I would say easily 90% of your pellets are within that 12-inch wide turkey paper. So once again, these kinetic shells are super impressive. I think we have seen a touch tighter of an overall pattern from them than what this gave us, but we wanted to see what they would do through the Mossberg 835, and that old school Hi-Viz 705 isn't the tightest choke either. It's an extra full constriction when it comes to an 835, but it seems like that combo did pretty well. And considering I bought that choke for like $6 or $7 out of the bargain bin at one of my local shops, I'll take that all day long. That is a very nice starting point for that choke, no doubt about it. I think maybe in the 835, we might be able to go down just a touch tighter in constriction, maybe to a 700 or a 695 if you really wanted to clean up a little bit of those pellets around the edges. edges, but that is getting a little bit picky at that point. That is a very nice hunting pattern. You got a lot of pellets through that core. It gives you a little bit of leeway on either side to work with. You could easily push that pattern to 50 yards and still be just fine. So ultimately, I wouldn't hesitate to hunt with that pattern one bit. I really like how that performed overall. There's no doubt about that. So I would say that's a pretty nice looking pattern for this combination. I don't think we really have a whole lot of room to argue with that at all. That's a dead bird any day of the week. And here's the wad from that shell. It is one of the variants of the Ballistic Products low bore contact wads. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly which one it is, but we know these are some very nice performing wads. It looks very much normal though, nothing stuck down in there, no major damage or anything, maybe just a little bit of straggly stuff down here along the base, but that choke does have a couple small ports in it, so that's probably what we see here. Either way, the wad looks perfectly fine, and I'd say it performed about as good as what it could have done through that choke as well. So no concerns here as far as this wad goes. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that result right there? That's a pretty devastating looking pattern. Like I mentioned a second ago, it might not be the tightest overall pattern we've seen from these kinetic shells, but still, you can't argue that that's not a very impressive looking pattern. Easily 90% of your pellets are within that turkey paper right there. So it's a nice, hot, dense pattern. Really no major voids or anything to deal with at all. Maybe a couple of flyers around the edges, but still nothing serious there either. That's just a straight up turkey killing pattern. I wouldn't hesitate to hunt with that combo all day long. It might be a $6 bargain bin 15-year-old choke at this point, but it seems like that Hi-Viz 705 is off to a pretty good start here. We know the kinetic shells are good as well. I was expecting to see a pretty nice pattern coming into it, and I think it pretty well lived up to what I thought it might. So really not a whole lot of complaints from me on this one. That's just a straight up nice looking pattern. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of the Kinetic Gunwerks shells, or have you tried one of those older Hi-Viz chokes? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Would you hunt with that combination? And maybe what other shells or choke combos do you want to see with either those kinetic loads or that old Hi-Viz LongSpur 705? Let me know all that down below, as well as maybe a little bit more information about those old Hi-Viz chokes as well, if you know something more about them. But at the end of the day, seems like a pretty nasty performing combination to me, and we're off to a great start for that old Hi-Viz as well. Now we're going to have to run some other shells through it and see what more we can get out of it, because it looks like a pretty good performer so far. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.